Lights, camera,
Rolling.
action.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Let Me Be Frank, a podcast about movies. I am your host, Frank, and today we got two more for you. One A24 film and another action film, but still really good. It caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is, but still, thank you for being here. Thank you for following. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for spreading the word because we're trying to build something real fun here. And my favorite month is coming up, October. I already started planning for some shows that's gonna happen then. So make sure you follow. That way you don't miss anything. But we're not gonna waste too much of your time. We got two good films today. We're gonna get into both of them. The first one, I believe, can be found on HBO Max. Just Max. I always get that name wrong. But it's called Love, Lies, and Bleeding. It is by A24 production company. They have produced Hereditary, a couple of other really good films. You can expect something not quite so simple when you watch an A24 film. That's one of the reasons why I like them so much is they do things out of the box that makes their films interesting, unique, and makes you want to sit through them every time they do a project. You at least want to check it out because they do so many good ones. They're not always focused on horror, even though they do have a good horror catalog. They also do a bunch of different movies, and this is going to be one of the different ones. This isn't exactly, well, no, this isn't a horror at all. This is about two people meeting and just kind of tearing each other's lives apart, but finding love in it. And it's a weird one. It's an A24 film. If you know, you know. If you don't know, I would hope that you would go and watch this one. Also, Midsummer, Hereditary, some of their other projects, just to get a feel for what they are. That they're not going to be huge bloodbaths all the time. Sometimes they're going to be slow burns. Sometimes they're going to be very psychological. But you're always going to get something unique when you deal with A24. So we're going to get into Love, Lies, and Bleeding. And here we go. We meet Lulu, who works at a gym. She seems kind of lonely. She comes off as like a huge loner, but she's very picky about who she's around. She has a select few people in her life, and it seems like they were picked out very carefully. They all either serve some sort of purpose. We watch her closing routine, her closing and her nighttime routine. She does work at a gym, so she's the closing person. I don't think she's the manager. She may be more of a supervisor role, and we get to see her close for the night, cleaning, all that stuff. Not very consequential. It's just kind of building like a kind of a mundane routine that she's going through. Lulu then visits her sister, who is obviously in an abusive relationship. We meet Lulu's sister Beth and her husband JJ. And JJ comes off like the biggest fucking douchebag in the world. We've all seen this guy. We all know, we probably went to high school with this fucking guy. He's a very frustrating person. We see him having sex in a car with a woman that is not his wife in exchange for a job. What a stand-up guy. He works at an outdoor shooting range. Then our other female character, Jackie, after getting the job at the outdoor shooting range, walks in to Lulu's gym for the first time, and Lulu seems extremely fixated on her. They do like the whole slow motion thing that you would see in like the old high school movies, except imagine a big jacked up greasy woman. Soon the gym closes and the two begin talking, leading Lulu giving our bodybuilder friend steroids. After the gym closes, and instead of her doing her normal nighttime routine, Lulu interacts with Jackie for the first time and ends up selling her steroids because she finds out she's a bodybuilder and there's a competition coming up, and she says it'll be out of her system before any testing for that goes. And just also, there's a lot of sex in this movie, a lot of sex. So I'm not going to go blow by blow. You're going to have to go and watch that for yourself. Then they have sex soon after the steroid taken and all that stuff. I didn't think steroids really made you horny like that, but here we go. Next day, we find out that the gun range owner is owned by Lulu's dad. Yeah. So the gun range that Jackie just had sex with her brother-in-law for is owned by her father. Told you, if you've never experienced an A24 film, here you go. It turns out her dad's also an arms dealer. The FBI keeps popping up at her house, asking her if she's seen him, if she's talked to him. We're going to see them in and out of this movie. There is a long montage of Lulu making eggs, having sex, and going to work. It kind of illustrates some time going by with her and Jackie getting closer and closer. I don't know how much closer you can get after you have sex, but yeah. Now we move on into a very weird dinner. So Lulu, Beth, JJ, and Jackie all have dinner together. So only Jackie and JJ know about them having sex with each other. But the vibes are so awkward that Lulu clearly sensed that something is going on between these two, even though they just met. And there's also the tension of Lulu knowing that JJ is beating the dog shit out of her sister. And she does not like him. He treats her like shit. He talks to her like shit. He talks to both of them like shit. It's I would have tried to find a way to get out of this if I was Jackie, just for the awkwardness of their interaction, not knowing the whole like fucked up family dynamic they got going on. But yeah, this dinner is extremely awkward, and praise to the actors for really showcasing how awkward this was. It could have very easily not been as good of a scene and just been more awkward than it could have been awkward between the actors instead of, coming off as an awkward situation to us. And they did a very good job making sure that it was awkward for us as well. Then to make this even more awkward, Lulu confronts JJ about hitting her sister in front of the entire table. It's eating away at her. She can't hold back no more. And she just lets loose on him. Obviously, this goes over like a lead balloon and the things start to get crazy. He reveals that he had sex with Beth, not in front of everyone. This is a private conversation between JJ and Lou. He reveals that they both had sex as soon as Jackie got to town. And this obviously is going to lead to Lulu and Jackie eventually having a confrontation and getting into a huge fight. Lulu and Beth start to compare pain. In my opinion, they both need better help. And I do mean the online therapy sessions, because good Lord, these two, throughout this argument, they're going to let loose a lot of baggage, just a lot of family shit to dig through. They have an extremely fucked up, weird, garbage relationship. So they both need therapy. Lulu sees that the FBI agent from earlier is following her. They get in the car and go home. So Lulu and Jackie leave. They have sex again. Surprise, surprise. After all that awkward interaction, the dinner and all that stuff, they still end up going home together and having sex. The next morning, Lulu gets a call that her sister Beth is in the hospital. So JJ beat all hell and high water out of her. Her face is fucked up and swollen. It looks like she's going to have scars. Like, she looked bad. Like, bad. He damn near killed her. Jackie sneaks over to Beth's house and kills JJ. And now she has to hide the body. Lulu takes Jackie and JJ, now dead JJ, to a desolate area, and they ditch and burn the car. Now they have to go in to clean up mold, but they leave a loose end. I'll let you figure out what that loose end is. Lulu and Jackie get into another argument. Surprise, surprise, the people who met like 2 weeks ago and have all this shit going on argued again. Jackie leaves for Vegas, arriving at the competition alone. Lulu and her dad have a short conversation about what happened to JJ. Lulu denies any involvement. She keeps saying it wasn't me. She turns into Shaggy. Jackie's competition, because we're cutting back to that scene, starts off well and then quickly descends into chaos as she has flashbacks and attacks another competitor. The way this went down was just absolutely brutal. So once again, I'm going to leave a good portions of this movie for you to go and discover yourself. This behavior at the competition causes Jackie to get arrested. So Jackie calls Lulu's dad to come and get her out. Lulu and this clingy girl that just keeps showing up throughout the film, I can't remember her name. Lulu ends up having sex with her out of anger, and they go to get breakfast. Lulu convinces her to not lie about seeing Jackie. because this poor deranged girl is so obsessed with Lulu that she is about to lie to the authorities and tell her that she saw her in a place that would put her way too close to the crime scene for her to get away with anything. So Lulu has to convince her that her and Jackie's relationship is done and that she hates Jackie, and you know, she needs Jackie to she's gotten her away from her. So Lulu and Crazy Girl go home, and they open the door, and Crazy Girl gets one to the dome. She gets popped in the back of the head. I don't even think she saw it coming, poor thing. Lulu stays behind to clean up the crime scene. Jackie gets captured by Lulu's dad to lure Lulu out of hiding because he's been looking for her. Lulu finally confronts her dad, sets him up to get busted by the feds. He's going down for the murders and everything else Lulu told them. And then Lulu and Jackie kind of drive off into the sunset on some Thelma and Louise shit. The only thing is, their relationship has seen so much in such a short time. I don't think this is like a happily ever after kind of story. I always think that because of their personalities and the people that they choose to bring into their lives and the situations they allow themselves to get into as grown adults, I think wherever they go, they're just going to step into the next situation. That's everything they've done in this movie has proven to me that they make bad choices on a consistent basis and that they often allow very seedy people into their lives. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and these type of characters can go and live happily ever after, but good Lord, just the stuff that I left out and the way a lot of the things I did describe played out, yeah, they themselves have so much work to do on their own personalities. I don't think that they could ever have a happily ever after together. But that's going to conclude the first review. I highly recommend going to watch this one. It is a gritty story, so just be prepared. And like I said, make sure the kids are out of the room because there is a lot of sex and nudity in this one. Not quite Skinamax, but a lot for a film release. Definitely wouldn't want to take my mom to see this. So we're going to switch gears real quick. I'm going to do something I've never done before. We are going to review a trailer right here. I know I've done trailer reviews before, but this one I'm going to actually be playing it in the background. I discovered it only a short time ago, and I think the movie's going to be good. It's another A24 film. It's called Heretic. It should be coming out sometime this fall. So we're going to queue it up on YouTube, and we're going to listen to it.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am. Are you interested in learning about our Savior, Jesus Christ? Hi. Good afternoon. Hi, are you My name is Sister Barnes, and oh my gosh.
So I don't know exactly where they're located, but I want to say maybe like a Utah or something like that. But these two young ladies are obviously going around trying to talk to people about, saving their souls, or I'm not completely sure what denomination this is. Could be Mormon. I could be wrong, so please don't throw me off a bridge. But as I'm sure they're probably used to, they're getting ignored by everybody.
Are you interested in learning more about the Church of Jesus Christ?
Come on in.
We can't come inside unless another woman is present.
My wife is home. Does that count?
Great.
You like pie?
Yeah.
My wife has pie in the oven.
I could.
By the way, that is Hugh Grant, the male voice that you're hearing. So it's pouring down rain, like that Forrest Gump rain. And they knock on this guy's door. And you heard what they said, but I'm just trying to paint the scene for you. So they just walked into the house. Looks like a pretty normal house. Let's see where it goes.
But you are a very spiritually curious person.
I think it is good to be religious, to find your faith in a doctrine you actually believe.
Well, our work here is done.
Now, I will go and check on the pie.
So sleep, silent angel.
All right. So the ominous sound that you just heard, when he goes into the other room to check on the pie, the young lady, which I don't know how they didn't see before, sees a scented candle with the wick burned and put out, and that has the home aroma of blueberry pie. So it seems like this motherfucker ain't making an actual pie. Yeah, that motherfucker door ain't working.
Can you fit through this? You're crazy.
We just need to go home.
I won't keep you if you wish to leave. But I want you to choose which door to go through based on your faith.
Okay. So they walk into like this back room, and there's like an altar and some pews, and there's two doors, one on the left, one on the right. He writes believer on one belief on one, disbelief on the other. And he's telling them that they are free to go. They just have to pick which door they want to walk through. This is a fucked up scenario.
What does this have to do with us leaving?
Everything.
I think that we're being studied.
It will make your
The screen just said
heart
pray.
beat faster. It may even make you want to die.
For an escape.
Do not be afraid. You will witness a miracle.
So one of the young ladies is not, I'm assuming this is a part of their journey trying to escape, but there's like, she's in like this room with like this old beat up like schoolhouse desk. And as she's facing forward again, like she's looking to her left, and as she slowly looks back toward the camera, she like shuts her eyes because there's something standing behind her. We don't get too much of a glimpse of what it is. It's a very quick cut. But yeah. So it doesn't give a time frame of when it's coming out. It just says coming soon. That last scene you heard, this young lady's climbing up a ladder to try and reach what looks like a door or like just a way out. And it turns out it leads to an even bigger labyrinth that she now has to navigate through. And that is the type of stuff that A24 does. This is closer to their actual horror than like Love, Lies, and Bleeding, but you're always going to get something interesting. You're always going to get something original. They don't do a whole bunch of cookie cutter mainstream stuff like we see from like a Lionsgate or Paramount. They all kind of do, you know, the stuff that's safe for people with low horror tolerance. Someone like me, I need, you know, I've seen them all, and we're going to talk about them all. And I've seen all these different horror movies. I've seen independents. I've seen big budget. I've seen everything in the middle. And because my favorite genre is horror, it's harder for some movies to get to me. It's usually about the performance, the idea, the concept of the film. Can you make me empathize with these characters and put myself in their shoes? So yeah, that's Heretic. I look forward to seeing it. I just ran across it like while I was, you know, kind of bouncing around on YouTube as I was getting set up for the show. So I thought I would share that with you. And with that, we are going to transition to our final film, our main event. We're going to completely switch genres and gears. This is an action movie. There's no other way to put it. It is called Nobody, and I believe, yes, it's on Peacock. That's where I saw it. Unless you want to pay for it, which I wouldn't, just because if you already have the streaming service, just go ahead and watch it. So our main character is in an interrogation room, bloody and handcuffed. The detective asks him, "Who are you?" Right before he says, "Nobody," title screen pops up, kind of like Invincible with a first say the word invincible, and boom, it pops up on the screen. So he says, and then it flashes to the title screen that says nobody. We watch him go through a day-to-day routine that seems very stagnant, and the same thing over and over again. We flash through multiple weeks. We go through, we do this for a while before it stops. 2 people break into his house. He attempts to call the police, but finds himself at gunpoint. His son attacks one of the robbers, and while he's on the ground wrestling with one of the suspects, the other robber has their back to him, to Nobody. Because, by the way, that's what I'm going to call him the whole film, Nobody. Because they don't really say his name. I think his wife says his name like twice, but otherwise, nobody ever really says his name. He freezes right before attacking one of the robbers, and he orders his son to let the other one go. So this rubs the entire family the wrong way. Upon letting the robbers go, his son takes a right hook to the face. His son's kind of a douchebag, so I was okay with it. So the burglars run out of the house. His son is extremely upset that his dad did nothing to help, even though he had the drop on them. His wife looks disappointed in the man that she married. The only one that is unaffected is the littlest one, which seems to be, daddy's little girl. She's kind of the only one that consoles him and lays on him because she's like 5 or 6. The next day, the family is still in shambles. Son is still clearly upset because his dad just did nothing. His wife reeks of disappointment throughout the film. And of course, the next door neighbor is some macho douchebag who just got a muscle car. It's like a Mustang, old school one. Nobody returns to work and is confronted by his brother-in-law, his wife's brother. So apparently everybody just, as soon as this incident happened, just went and called everybody and just fucking told everybody what happened. Her brother hands Nobody a gun, like shoves it in his chest, tells him he needs to protect his family, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that he also works with his father-in-law, who also knew about the incident. This is what I mean. They just like ran to the phone and just started fucking calling people. He is attempting to buy the business from his father-in-law, but he just won't sell it for whatever reason. There just seems to be a general lack of respect for this guy, just because he's so laid back. He seems very passive. He seems like somebody who's not about that action. But, everybody isn't that type of person, and it just kind of seems like nobody respects him at all. You see this, after he talks to his father-in-law and his brother-in-law, he goes into his office, he locks the door, and he opens this big cabinet, and there's this like really old style radio with like it has, big knobs. It's a big, huge fucking thing. Not something I would want to move a whole bunch. He grabs a flask and sits down. He starts talking to a voice. We don't know who the person is, but their voice is coming out of that radio. He starts to tell him about last night and why he didn't do what he didn't do. So even the voice already knows what happened the night before. Nobody reveals to the radio that he noticed that the robber's gun was empty, which is why he didn't attack her when he had the drop on her. So only the voice on the radio understands, and we as the audience get our first clue that, he's a transformer. There's more to him that meets the eye. So now work is over. He goes back home, and the family is still very awkward. Son still got a little attitude. Wife still looks like she married the guy with the smallest dick in the world. His daughter starts looking around for a kitty cat bracelet. So when the robbers came, when they just confronted Nobody by himself, he tried to give them some money out of a bowl because they were asking for cash. He pointed towards the bowl. It just looked like a bunch of ones, something that the family probably does in case you need a couple dollars on the way out the door. You can grab $2-3. The little girl, his daughter, holds up the bowl and says, could the robbers have taken it out? She's wondering if when they grabbed all the money that they also picked up the little kitty cat bracelet. For whatever reason, this sets off Nobody. He gets very fucking irritated. And he immediately, without saying a word to anybody, just turns and walks out the door. Family's completely confused, like where the fuck is he going? But he just walks away, doesn't say a single word to anybody. Now he starts hunting down the people that broke into his house. All he has is a description of the tattoo, and he starts going to tattoo parlors looking for anybody who may have done that particular tattoo. He finally finds them. He breaks into their home and attacks them. He attacks the guy. He doesn't attack the female. She's sitting down. And he demands his watch back plus the kitty cat bracelet. They said they don't have a kitty cat bracelet. And he's getting more and more and more irritated. So he demands it again. He starts to get loud, and then he hears a baby crying upstairs. This is one of the reasons why he didn't want to be this person, because he was about to kill these people and they had a baby upstairs. If that baby didn't cry and things got really out of hand and both parents died and he left, that baby would have been left there to starve to death. So he leaves, and now he's angry and frustrated. He's forced to, do something he didn't want to do and put innocent kids in the way. So he gets on the bus to go back home, because that's how he got around. He wasn't driving, he took the bus. When a group of guys in a Hummer crash next to them, so they kind of crash and almost forces the bus to stop. They get out, they are clearly fucking wasted, they're clearly douchebags, and they go up to the bus door. Now, for whatever fucking reason, I can't figure it out. If I was a bus driver, I wouldn't have done this, but there are only 2 passengers. I think there was like 3 or 4 passengers on the bus. There's a young lady, a couple of other guys, and then nobody all the way in the back. They're banging on the door, and for whatever fucking reason, this dumb driver opens the fucking door. When the first time I saw this, I was just like, I understand that we need to get whatever action sequence is going to happen out of this. But this was just a stupid plot point. No bus driver that is smart would open the door for these fucking psychopaths. If anything, they would have tried to drive away to get the passengers and themselves into safety. But she opens the door and they start to get on the bus. And of course, they harass her. They harass the guys. The first 2 guys just kind of get up and walk off. They're not trying to experience whatever's about to happen here. Unfortunately, the young lady sitting on the bus knows that this is worst case scenario. There is nobody around to help her. She's alone, and there's like 6 or 7 of these dudes. So, yeah, go ahead and just. She's thinking she's about to get gang raped. There's no other way for me to say it. And she clearly looks worried, but then nobody stands up. And he's kind of monologuing to himself, and he assures this young lady that you will get home safe tonight, and that he hopes that these guys enjoy hospital food. So he stops the bus driver from calling the cops. He walks her nicely out of the bus, and then the action sequence ensues. So it didn't go exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to just be a blowout. But this was a actually pretty brutal fight. It was very graphic. There's no music, which I kind of like. It adds to like a realism, especially when you get hits and punches and crunching from, because buses have like poles and hard ass seats. So you get a lot of that. Nobody is kind of just taking it as much as he's given it. And then at one point he gets thrown out of a window, one of the windows on the bus. He gets tossed out. He gets back up. He just tells the bus driver, just hold on for a second. He goes back in. Now music starts to play. And now we get the Team USA Dream Team blowout. He fucks every single one of these guys up very brutally. I probably would have, stopped doing some of this. I would, if you're like the last 2 guys in this ass whooping scenario, this is all your fault, because you knew what he could do, because you just watched like 5 of your friends go down painfully, and these weren't like, oh, I'm just gonna hit them and knock them out and they won't remember. No, like they're awake and having severe broken bones. One guy gets his trachea crushed where nobody has to perform a tracheotomy to save this fucking asshole's life, which he uses a pen, which didn't look fun at all. So after that, he goes home. After this very well put together fight scene, he goes home, and nobody goes home, and him and his wife have a long talk about the intimacy, the lack of intimacy within their relationship. They even sleep with like a pillow between them. Now we see a vehicle driving up to a nightclub erratically. A bad guy gets out. He walks across the street, goes into the club, and starts singing on stage. He is the protector of a large cachet of money for the Russian mob. Someone challenges him and says, I don't think someone who's on stage, kind of making a spectacle of themselves is, up to the task of guarding all this money. So what he does is he breaks off like a martini glass or something. It's a glass, a bar glass, and he literally just kills a random person, like a big guy too, somebody that you wouldn't want to, you wouldn't walk up to him and go like, hey man, fuck you, and just see what happens. He brutally kills this guy, slits his throat in front of everybody, just without blinking, and then just stares at them like, this is what I do. You fuck with me, and you end up like this guy who did absolutely nothing. The only thing he did wrong was getting up, getting dressed, and showing up here. If he would have been anywhere else in the world, he probably would still be alive. He then gets a call to rush to the hospital because his brother is there. Who is his brother, you're asking? The guy that got the tracheotomy on the bus. He visits him in the hospital and then goes to question the guys he was with. He assaults one of those guys with a chair, and then for some reason, another one of them opens their fucking mouth. When you just watch this guy beat the shit out of someone with a chair that's in a hospital bed, and it's not like he hit him like 2 or 3 times. No, he went like full manic, extreme frustration. And then you say, because what he said wasn't like helpful, he kind of was like being a snarky smartass in what he was saying. Like it was valuable information, but like the way you delivered it, like shut the fuck up. Did you not just see what this dude just did? So Yerlin is his name. I'm probably slightly pronouncing it wrong, but it's Russian, so forgive me. Yerlin asked how he could find the guy that did this. Someone holds up a Metro card. Now let's pause. I lived in New York City and I've used Metro cards. I don't know how anybody would find out my identity from a Metro card. I don't understand how that really makes sense, because it's just a Metro card, unless he knows somebody that works for transit that can, track someone's movements. I don't know, because when you pay for it, you go to a machine, you put dollars in, you click how much money you want on that card, and that's it. You don't have to enter in any personal information. I've used them before, so I don't really know how this works. But once again, it's an action movie, so I'm going to turn my brain off a little bit more, and we're going to move on. At home, he seems to be in a mood now that he's in a better mood, now that he's gotten some of his frustrations out. He then receives a call from the voice on the radio on his phone. He's shocked by this, and he is told about the person's brother that he just put in the hospital. He goes to see someone called the barber. He keeps telling him to go see the barber. Go see the barber. So he goes to see the barber. He is told that the guy's brother that he beat up is like the worst of the worst person you could have done this to. He's like the captain of the Russian mob, and he has this fucked up reputation. At the same time, he is trying to figure out everything he can on nobody. So somehow they were able to get his photo or something. I don't really know. Like I said, it's an action movie, so we're just going to move on. He asked someone, a young lady, someone who used to work for Yerlin, her job was to get as much information on nobody as possible. She sends blackmail photos to someone who works at the Pentagon, who then goes to look for the files, and it turns out that it's not in a computer base. It is only in paper, and a lot of it is redacted. A lot. But enough that you know that this guy is not to be fucked with. So the next scene we see, she walks into the room with a roller bag. She has the folder in her hand, and she flings it at Yerlin, the same guy who just killed someone for no fucking reason. She flings the folder at him and says, "No need to pay," and she walks out. That is to let you know that this man is not to be fucked with. When she will throw the file at someone who murders people in a nightclub in front of hundreds of people for absolutely no reason, that she fears someone on paper more than she fears that man in front of her, and she just walks out the fucking door. So that should have been Yerlin's first indication that this wasn't going to go the way he wants it to go. We cut to Nobody and his family having dinner and making plans to go to Italy. Suddenly he looks out the window and sees a bunch of black SUVs pulling up to his house and orders his family to the basement. A really good action sequence happens within the house. He takes a large portion of the guys prisoner, even though almost all of them are dead except one. So he gets tasered in the neck and is thrown in the trunk. He finds a way to escape the trunk and causes the car to crash in just a very spectacular fashion. He tells the Russians that he is nobody, but he tells him what his job was. He said his job was, he was called an auditor from the IRS. And he said he worked for the 3-letter agencies, which I'm assuming is FBI, CIA, NSA, those groups. And they called him the auditor because he is the last person you want to see on your doorstep. He then has to run back to free his family from the basement. He made like a little safe room. After he sends his family away, it is now story time with Nobody. He lines up the guys he just kind of killed. One of them's still alive, and he tells them the story of why he left being an auditor. By the end of the story, he sets the basement and the house on fire, essentially torching his old life and his family's life. His last line in that house, he says, "I knew it was all a facade." So he knew that he wouldn't be able to stay out for long. All he wanted to do was just not kill people anymore. Now he goes on the offensive. So our bad guy, Yerlin, is responsible for the Russian mob's retirement, like I said earlier. He is in charge of hundreds of millions of dollars. He then goes to the place, Nobody goes to the place where all the money is being kept. He pours gasoline or kerosene, one of the two, into the sprinkler system and then sets off the sprinkler so that everything is covered in flammable liquid. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And he burns it all. He sets that shit on fire like Joker and Batman. I listen, I'm taking at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stacks before, because they're all big. So I'm taking at least 10 stacks before I set that shit up just to make sure my family got it. Nobody then goes to the club where Yerlin likes to sing and confronts him. Nobody tells Yerlin that if they let it go now, they can both just walk away. They can rebuild. And he's like, "What do you mean rebuild?" That's when he tells him that he burned all the money, because apparently Yerlin's been trying to get out of this. He doesn't want to be the guardian of their dollars anymore. Imagine the fucking pressure of having the Russian mob's retirement plan, under your protection, and they're constantly making sure that you're not slacking, and the pressure that you then have to put on the people guarding that place. So obviously this isn't going to just be an easy rebuild for Yerlin. And after Nobody leaves, car chase ensues. He walks out and they do this whole big long car chase. He then leads them back to the shop that he just bought and booby trapped. So he was actually able to buy his father-in-law's business. After buying it, he goes on his his Home Alone shit and he sets up a whole bunch of booby traps. I'm assuming he figured out that this moment was going to. He then lures them there. And as he's there surrounded trying to get into the building, we start seeing guys getting popped by a sniper. And it turns out it's the voice from the radio. Even though he said he wouldn't come help him, he's in the building shooting on the outside. Then Nobody's dad pops up and helps out. They have this huge gunfight inside the building. They activate all the traps that are inside. The bad guys didn't stand a fucking chance. This was a rout. This was just brutality. There was just bodies, blood everywhere, but the traps were really fun to watch go off. They're very creative, think like Kingsman, but with booby trap. After the henchmen are dead, he is pinned down by Yerlin. All Nobody has left is a landmine. So this is where we're going to get a little bit ridiculous. But it's an action movie, so let's just turn our brains off. He straps the landmine to some sort of bulletproof glass. He duct taped it to the front of the glass with the correct side pointing towards the enemy, with the pin in his mouth attached to a string. Nobody charges Yerlin, and when he gets close enough, he pulls the pin with his teeth, and the landmine goes off. Yerlin dies, obviously. So just imagine he's running at him with like this big glass shield. He pulls it once he gets close enough because Yerlin can't kill him because the glass is bulletproof. And it blows up in Yerlin's face, blows nobody backwards. Yeah, so it's an action movie. Not quite as bad as Fast and the Furious. We'll definitely talk about that one day, but this was pretty ridiculous action sequence. We go back to the beginning of the movie when he's sitting in the interrogation room. Both officers they're trying to figure out who he is, and they believe that they have him dead to rights, but they both receive a phone call. We can assume that they're being told to let him go. The movie ends with the family buying a new house and his wife asking if the property comes with a basement. And we just cut right to the credits, whatever bland rock song that they use at the end of this. Like I said, this one is not going to be, a masterpiece of storytelling like last week's, was that Knox Goes Away. That movie was fantastic for storytelling. This is an action movie. Once they start shooting and fighting, they don't stop until the end. But I would say if you're just looking for something easy to digest on like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, you just want to watch a good action flick, this one is good. It's got plenty of everything that you could want in it. No sex though, surprising. So good for them for, finally leaving out sex. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the reviews. Two good movies. I would highly recommend going to watch them. They're very fun movies. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today. Hope you have a good rest of your week, and I will see you for more movie talk next week.